Okay, I've been asked to do a video on tarot, focusing in on the subject of tarot meditation. So let's just get the cards out of the bag and we'll have a quick look and see what we've got and try and work out, how we're going to use them. Okay, wonderful Aleister Crowley Book of Thoth Tarot, which is probably, in my humble opinion, the best tarot pack on the face of the planet. Why? Because of the complexity of the colours and the symbolism and all the rest of that. Now, if you're thinking about doing tarot as a meditative exercise, you've got to think about, what it is you're trying to achieve. Remember that the guy who came up with the imagery, Aleister Crowley himself, he was trying to create a new world religion. Alright, so these are a lot of his ideas associated with tarot. In some respects, you could actually say that he succeeded, because there are some people who regard, his tarot as being like really, very spiritual, very religious, because it, goes into quite so many different concepts, and it is taken very seriously by practitioners of various forms of occult schools of thought. Now, I'm just like showing you some cards at random here, which you can already see, there's a very different emotional impact from the imagery, from the use of color, from the whole feeling of the artwork. Okay, so this one is labeled as failure. Okay, and the whole card is dark. It's gloomy. It feels oppressive. It's, you look at it and you can feel depressed looking at it. And I think that's what he was actually trying to achieve. Now, if we move away from that, we got the one beneath it, which is a Two of Cups. There we go. And by comparison, it's much more light. It's much more emotionally positive, I would say. Okay, it's called love. It's got the word love written at the bottom, and it does have an association with being entwined and connected. Hence the the two fish symbols there. It's a very, very beautiful card. So, what is so amazing about this card juxtaposed against this card? Well, initially, you've got the straightforward, out and out emotional impact that the card itself has because of colors and the rest of that. Now, let's go a bit further into the deck and see what else we got. Oh, and a bit of a nasty one here. Queen of Swords. Now, the Queen of Swords, she's got her own mythology associated with her. I mean, this is like the typical Bunny Boiling type woman, alright? She's holding in one hand the decapitated head of a man. And in the other hand, she's got a sword. And she's got a bit of a Jack the Laddish kind of like pose. Yeah, you want to have a go at me kind of thing. She knows what she wants. There's a personality to it. So essentially, with your analysis of this particular tarot pack, you can see that color, structure, and even things like the numbers which are used can have an impact. And then some of the more complex cards can actually have a bit of a character feeling to them, which might even remind you of a particular type of person. Alright, maybe someone you've come across in the past, someone you've dealt with, and so on and so forth. So the cards already have some meanings, but you can do your tarot meditation for lots of different things and in lots of different ways. The most simple one is to quite simply sit with the card. Okay, take the card that you want to experience, because like when you're doing a deep meditation, you're trying to go for brainwave hemispheric synchronization. You're trying to take that concept and fill up your entire being with it. Okay, so you can look at it. So maybe you want to try and think about the lighter ones rather than necessarily the darker ones. Obviously, in tarot, there's no such thing as a bad card. Everything deals with a stage of change or something which can happen in the universe. It's just the more superstitious people who would say, "Oh no, that's a bad card. You can't use that one." But basically that's a load of rubbish. These are all things which happen in the universe. There are people who have that character. This emotion does exist. All right. This emotion also does exist. So maybe we can see these things as being very real factors of the way in which the human mind can be divided up, or indeed human life experience. Okay, let's just try and go deeper into the deck at random. Oh, there we go. The Magician card. This one is great for meditation. Now, if you think about the card itself, it's got so much going on. So you might actually just want to sit with a card and just focus on one of the symbols, just for 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Look at it, think about what it means. Now, meditation can just mean contemplation. All right, it can just mean sitting down and thinking, just like an ordinary, objective, rational individual. Your meditation in that particular respect can also mean looking up the symbols in books and looking at other people's interpretations. So that's another form of meditation. But to the most part, I'm talking about mantra meditation, I'm talking about mind-altering meditation, and going into the symbols in much greater detail through trying to experience them. So you can do that to try and work out the hidden meaning, or indeed a particular meaning which is not directly apparent when you look at the card itself, which if you wanted to do more in the way of divination or religious work with the card itself, then that would be a good way of of trying to do it. You get yourself involved with it, you immerse yourself in it, you focus in it, you try and understand it. There was one person I used to know who would actually choose one tarot card a day, okay, and he would set it up beside his alarm clock, and so that when he woke up, the alarm clock would go off and he would have a good look at the card and try and apply some of the things he saw in the card to things happening in his day. So his tarot meditation was not just that stuff which is done in that little moment in the day when you're going all religious and spooky and new agey and meditation orientated. It was more like a day-to-day trying to live with the imagery of the tarot to try and bring him into a greater level of understanding. I don't necessarily think that can work very well for you if you work in a supermarket, funnily enough, because yeah. Now, if you're dealing with people in a much more detailed way, or you're in a much more high-level position, maybe. But that is one way in which you can use meditation or contemplation upon the tarot to try and get a better level of understanding. Now, once you've actually got a basic understanding, which will be personal, I'm not someone who thinks that the messages in the tarot are somehow cast in stone. I just don't think that at all. I think that there is some traditional archetypes. There's some lower common denominator meanings of the cards, but the rest of it is built up based upon your own knowledge, your own experience, and how you engage with the imagery yourself. All right, because it becomes you who's working with them. Okay, you're the one who's dealing with them, building a relationship with your 78 odd friends, which are all out there in the tarot itself. So it's a little more advanced, okay, than, let's say, playing cards where the symbolism is very simple and very plain, or indeed with runes, which has still quite a plain understanding, although some people have learned to elaborate much more upon it. Okay, so let's say you had one particular week in your life, and this is after you've spent your time studying the tarot, going into it deeply in a very sort of like religious understanding kind of way. Let's say you had a time in your life when you positively, perpetually felt that emotion, all right? And let's say you want to try and move things on to that emotion. What you can then do is meditate in a different way. You can do it like a form of candle magic meditation, in which case you set up your altar working space with one card there and the other card there, a bit of a distance between, and probably a bigger distance actually, and just set up one candle right above that card there. And as you're meditating, as you're doing a mantra, doing your affirmations, you slowly move the candle bit by bit from one card to another, to try and teach yourself that you are changing your awareness and your mood from this one to this one, okay? That would be quite a constructive way of giving yourself that suggestion. And in doing so, you may be working on a very deep level, okay? That very deep level will be your own subconscious mind, because when you're in meditation, when you're in ritual and that sort of thing, okay, what you're doing is something which is like auto-hypnotic suggestion, and it's something which you can use to program yourself using the combination of symbols, in this case of the tarot, for the purposes of creating change, or indeed to ingrain in your mentality some kind of positive change. Obviously, we know from science, and this is normal, ordinary, everyday natural science, okay, neuroplasticity, neurogenesis. If you were to meditate on something every single day for 20 minutes, let's say, for a period of a few weeks or a few months, 90 days being like the optimum, so I understand, okay, you will have a change in your brain structure. Now, the Buddhists who do their compassion meditation actually get a fusing of two different parts of their brain when they're doing their compassion meditation. After a long enough period of time. which the average individual doesn't have, and that's because the brain has changed shape and structure because of the emotion that they're meditating upon. Taking that into account, if you were to meditate on that emotion, what's the likelihood of you feeling that emotion much more in your life? If you were to do that every single day, let's say you felt really, 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 really shitty, really 7 of coins there, you really felt that dark, depressing, gothic, nasty. And let's say you wanted to feel much more, see if I can pick it up. That's one. Well, the benefit of a new pack of tarot cards is that you can shuffle them really easily. The tragedy is they're difficult to pick up. Okay, and let's say you wanted to feel this one. It's bright, it's peachy, it's yellow and blue and mercurial and intelligent and loving and spiritual and dancing over daffodils and feeling the joys of spring, darling, darling. Okay, and let's say you'd spend a lot more time focusing in on that one. Do you think, taking into account what I've told you about neurogenesis and neuroplasticity, that you will be able to change the structure of your brain somehow, possibly in a subtle way, possibly in a more major way, over a 90-day period, to remove the depression and bring in something optimistic? Okay? Of course you would, because that's the way the brain works. Dee-dee-dee-dee. Okay. So, tarot can be used as a tool because it's a system of symbols. Alright, anything religious can be used that way. Anything meditation orientated. If you're not religious, then find a set of symbols which are not religious. If you don't like divination tools, then do something else. Color meditation is wonderful. Alright, create your own symbols, make them up. So long as the resultant effect is good, then essentially you're gonna, it's gonna move you in the right direction. So there's loads of ways in which you can use tarot. I mean, I've spent years building a relationship with tarot. Alright? Years and years and years. So this is what I would use. You personally, maybe you're an artist. Maybe you play around with colour much more. So essentially you use colour. Somebody else who uses, I don't know. So let's say you work on the road, okay? You're spending your time digging and doing things with laying down tarmac and all the rest of it, and the only symbols you see all the time are road signs. Use road signs. I don't care. Work out where your system of symbolism is. If you like crappy science fiction films, find something in a crappy science fiction film like The Fifth Element. That was beautiful, okay? And those wavy lines. Find one of those wavy lines that you like to meditate upon. Whatever. Find the symbolism which has the right meaning and is contrary to the other emotions that you don't want to feel, and is therefore enhancing the ones you do want to feel, and therefore you may be able to create change if you dedicate yourself to doing some meditation. So that's just some ideas. And of course you can do path workings into tarot, you can do dream work into tarot. It's just like, oh baby, try it at night. Okay, find a tarot card that you like and set it up beside your bed, or indeed put it under your pillow. Alright, put it under your pillow and do a little affirmation to say, I want to dream of the contents of this card. So in the morning you wake up and you write it down on a piece of paper as to what you dreamt of. And maybe there'll be a connection there, maybe there won't, but maybe there will be, and you can find it as you introspect what happened in your dream, okay? It's pure red-hot sexy psychology, man. Yeah.